Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Saturday edition on my YouTube channel. Before I get into this week's episode, I do need to provide an update on some things as far as my content creation schedule over this next week and a half. So yeah, everybody knows that the latest surge in the pandemic has shifted some of the games on the schedule. So that is going to have to cause me to shift my schedule. So what you're getting today is you're getting your typical Saturday preview. I did do that special Saturday preview video that came out on Saturday. Now that Browns game has been moved. Spoiler alert, I'm still going to pick with the Browns. It's just now it's getting played on Monday. So I'll remind you guys later in this episode. But if you want to get my feelings on that matchup, please go watch that video. The other game that is going to be played tonight, between the Colts and Patriots, I covered that in that video. So if anybody wants to hear my thoughts on that, please go watch my previous video on my channel where I cover those two games. And then, so that Browns Raiders game is now on Monday at 5 o'clock. And then the Washington Philadelphia game, as well as the Rams and Seahawks game, both those games have been moved to Tuesday at 7 o'clock. So everybody knows normally on Tuesdays, that's when I give you guys my top waiver wire ads and streamable defenses. Well, I mean, if the week's not going to be over yet, I can't really jump into the next week's content. So there's going to be a slight shift. And then it kind of helps that I am going to be off from my job next Thursday and Friday. So that gives me some flexibility as far as content creation. So how this is going to work, guys, I'm doing my weekly preview today. And then as of right now, the plan is on Wednesday night, I will do my top waiver wire ads and streamable defenses video. And then on Thursday, what I'm going to do is I think I'll probably at some point during the day, Thursday, if not the first thing I do, Thursday morning, I'm going to do my top starts and sits for next week's fantasy football action. And then what I'm going to do is, because I do want to enjoy my Christmas as much as possible, I was going to record it on that Thursday just so I could have Christmas Eve and Christmas to myself. I just got to adjust. COVID's making everybody in this world adjust. So what I'm going to do is Christmas Eve, next Friday, I'm going to wake up and do my weekly preview video for the rest of the week's action for you guys, so you can have that throughout the weekend. If anybody's got time to watch it, I'll appreciate it. If you don't, I get it. It's the week of Christmas, right? It's the holiday season. Everybody's busy right now. Tell me about it. I'm coming off one of my most busiest weeks of my life. It felt like, with everything I had to do. Missed times connecting with friends. So now I am trying to play catch up this weekend. So with that being said, guys, I do want to go ahead and get into today's video really quick, just to share my quick takeaways from that Thursday night game, where it was an electric game that went into overtime. The Chiefs end up beating the Chargers 34-28. And yeah, let's just start with the winning team. The Chiefs, it looks like, I want to say they're fully back. There were some really questionable moments on Thursday night where you're like, what is going on with Patrick Mahomes? Is his brother jinxing him with all the outside noise type of stuff, especially on that goal line throw that normally he's just going to make that throw. So you kind of wonder if he's got something going on. And then again, they were able to figure out a way to win in that type of like at the end of the game, when he connected with Kelsey in a classic moment, when Kelsey took all the touchdown to win the game in overtime. Those are the type of plays that gives teams the confidence, the reminder of the type of talent they have on the roster. So they're now leading the AFC West. I think if the Colts win tonight, I think Kansas City will be back as far as the number 1 seed in the conference. So that's something to watch as well. And I mean, if they're going to get the home field advantage, then we're right back to where we were last year, and Kansas City is the team to beat in the AFC, because their defense is playing great. They'll get Chris Jones back off the COVID list, so they'll be even better. And then you just got that offense at any given moment. They can get back to being who they are, right? They're still working through the things. They're still a work in progress. But, I mean, if you tell me the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl at the end of the year, I'm not going to be surprised. And then with the Chargers, they're still a capable team of going on a Super Bowl run. And, I know everybody's going to debate the analytics, but, I mean, that's just who they are. If you guys have been watching the Chargers games, there should have been no surprise that they were going to go for it on all those fourth downs. That's why they have a winning record. Is sometimes it works out in those games, and those games they're able to go on and win. And then there's games like Thursday night where it just doesn't work in their favor. I'm kind of in the favor of like you should listen to the analytics, but I think every game has their own unique circumstances and what's going on in that game, and I think like a feel for the game. So I'm in the crowd where like, yeah, like you just kind of got to understand the feeling. Like there were a couple of field goals like at the end of the half. Like dude, just take the points and just go up 7 at the end of the half. So they kick one field goal. They don't have to go to overtime. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about the feel of the game and knowing your team. If your team's kind of maybe stumbling on those fourth down situations, maybe you take the field goal next time around. But that's not their MO. That's what Brandon Staley's going to stick to his guns. So I don't expect them to fall, waver next time. Next time you see the Chargers play, they're going to be going forward on fourth downs. They're still a good team. I do expect they'll close out probably one of those wild card spots in the AFC. And then put a bow on it, my prospect encyclopedia player of Thursday Night Football was that rookie linebacker from Kansas City, Nick Bolton. I thought Nick Bolton was all over the place. As you can see with the stats, right? He had the 14 tackles. He had 10 of those were solo tackles. He had 3 pass deflections and a quarterback hit. And he's been part of the reason why this defense has kind of turned things around. He's really stepped up as a rookie. He's a sideline to sideline player, very sure tackler, and I think they found themselves a nice little linebacker to have in their defense, at least over the next 4 to 5 years. I think that he's a second or third round rookie. So yeah, I think he has a 4-year contract. So he's been a nice pickup for their defense. Again, the prospect encyclopedia, what that's all about is basically what we have done is over the last 3 draft classes, in order to make the top 22 list for a given team inside the prospect encyclopedia, you have to be from the last 3 draft classes, less than 12 regular season stars. So guys that are entering the year to guys that are like future stars of the league, role players, like kind of like a Nick Bolton. Maybe he's not going to be a star of the NFL, but he's going to be a solid starter in this league. Or you got special special team players, stuff like that. You go to prospectencyclopedia.com to check it out if you want to order it. You can get the entire PDF for $15. Individual team PDFs are just $1. And then you can check out the Bucks section for free, get an idea of what you would get out of this, and then you go ahead and hit that order button. But yeah, if you're looking at the graphic right now, that little box there, that's his report that my man Roy Countryman wrote up. So that's what you get. The number 1 players on the list get a big old report, and then the numbers 2 through 22 kind of get that report that you're seeing with Nick Bolton. Just a great way to learn about other players that you might not know about on these rosters and that are around the NFL. So again, my prospect encyclopedia player of Thursday Night Football is Nick Bolton. All right, now that I got that wrapped up, there's a Saturday night game tonight, only one because of the Browns game and Raiders game getting moved. If you want to hear my feelings on the Colts-Patriots game, please go watch the previous video on my YouTube channel. All right, moving into the 1 p.m. games tomorrow. First game I'm going to be talking about, we got the Titans traveling up to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. Taking a look at the injury reports really quick. These following players are out for Tennessee. Torrey Carter with an ankle, Jackrabbit Jenkins with an ankle, David Long Jr. with a hamstring, Larrell Murchison with a knee, Roger Saffold with a shoulder, Tier Tart with an ankle, and Aaron Brewer with a toe. And then on the Pittsburgh side, this player's out, Buddy Johnson with a foot, and then these 3 players are questionable. Joe Hayden with a foot, Kevin Rader with a hip, and then Isaiah Buggs with an ankle. So yeah, this is a big game as far as AFC implications because, Tennessee, they technically haven't won. They basically are going to win the AFC South, but they technically have not won it yet. They do need to win, I think, at least 1 or 2 more games to close that out. Now, they have like a 3-game, let's see, they're sitting at they have like a 2 or 3 game lead over the Colts, but the Colts are one of the hotter teams right now. So if the Colts get this win tonight, that kind of puts the pressure on Tennessee that they need to make sure they close out their division, which they probably will do. But with that being said, they're also one of those teams that are competing to get the number 1 seed in the AFC. So they need to keep on stacking up wins. And then you got the Steelers, who are sitting at the 6-1. They coming off that bad loss against the Minnesota Vikings, where they tried to pull off the comeback, but they fell short. And right now, the AFC North, is up for grabs. Anybody can go win that division, especially now with Lamar Jackson more than likely not playing tomorrow. So Pittsburgh needs a huge win, not only to stay in the AFC North title reign, but to stay in the wild card chase. So so starting with this Steelers offense, I think they kind of maybe feel like they're starting to kind of somewhat figure themselves out. Again, the Vikings pass defense is not that great. But neither is the Titans pass defense. So what I expect is the Steelers will try to come out and get things going with Najee like they always will, but that Tennessee defensive front seven is pretty solid and stout against the run. So they're probably going to keep that somewhat in check on tomorrow. And then what I'll expect is eventually they're going to have to let Big Ben let loose, use his weapons of Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, James Washington, and move the ball throughout the air. And I think they're going to be able to do that. I think it's going to be a hit and miss offense for the Steelers on Sunday. I think you're going to see drives where quick little dump offs to Najee to keep the chains moving, quick little slant routes to Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and end around, stuff like that. They'll keep drives alive, and there'll be times where the Tennessee defense just steps up and makes them stall. But I think the Steelers could put up 2 to 3 touchdowns against that defense tomorrow. Now, you flip sides of the ball, man, like I'm telling you, it's so weird because like the Tennessee's like they were so good at the beginning of the year, and then all these injuries have ravaged their offense. And man, I'm with the boat that I'm on the boat that with some people that have been watching these games where Tennessee's offense has not looked that great. It just hasn't. They just they went a while without losing. A few weeks ago they lost to the Texans. I mean, listen, they lost to the Chop House, Urban Meyer led Jaguars. I mean, they beat them. So we really couldn't take much out of it. And when you go watch that game, that offense was looking ugly. And Ryan Tannehill is getting hit a lot. So I think TJ Watt's this is a blow up spot for him where he can get after Tannehill, maybe help create some turnovers. And I think the Steelers defense is going to be able to have themselves a nice little solid outing against the Tennessee offense. Because, I mean, being honest, like there's nothing really that should threaten them. Like obviously, like the Steelers' defense has been really bad against the run, but I mean, I'm sorry, I don't really think Deontay Foreman or McNichols or Hilliard's gonna run all over them. I just don't. I could see this being a get right type of matchup against the run for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So maybe the Titans got a couple drives in them to get a couple touchdowns, but I just don't think this offense is enough. I actually like the Steelers offense slightly better than the Tennessee Titans offense right now. So I'm actually going to go ahead and pick the Steelers to win tomorrow. I think they end up winning like a 24 to 17 win against Tennessee. Moving on to the next game, we got the Buffalo Bills traveling down to Carolina to face the Panthers. Starting with the Bills injury report, Emmanuel Sanders is doubtful with his knee injury. These 3 players are questionable: Taiwan Jones with a knee, Star Lotulelei with a knee, and AJ Epinesa with an ankle. And then on the Panthers side, AJ Bouye has been ruled out with a foot. And then these 3 players are questionable: DJ Moore with a hamstring, Michael Jordan with a hamstring, and then John Miller with his ankle injury. So yeah, starting with the Bills offense, I think they kind of refound themselves in that second half of that matchup last week against the Bucs when the offense was starting to move the ball. Josh Allen basically put the team on his back and almost led that comeback against Tampa Bay. And he's going against a defense which has actually been somewhat stingy this year, but it just feels like everything's kind of a mess right now in Carolina. So I think they're going to be able to translate everything they did in that second half against the Bucs, against this Panthers defense. So I expect a lot of Josh Allen. Maybe he doesn't rush as much because he is coming off that sprained foot injury, but he did not get an injury designation. So I mean, if he's 100% healthy, I think you'll see him picking up some first downs with his legs. And then I think he's just going to pick apart the secondary with Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Gabriel Davis, and he's going to be able to lead his team to about 3 to 4 touchdown drives against the Carolina defense. And then you just flip sides of the ball. I mean, the Panthers offense is just a muddy mess right now. Their offensive line stinks. They're switching between Cam Newton and PJ Walker depending on the series because Cam Newton doesn't know the offense. And then he's just basically a rushing quarterback at this point of his career. And then you got DJ Moore, who's dealing with a hamstring injury. You got Robbie Anderson, who might be able to do some things against this defense because they are missing Tre'Davious White. But then other than that, the running back situation shouldn't scare the Bills defense. The tight end doesn't really scare the Bills defense. And then you look at that offensive line. I mean, they're really bad. So I think Gregory Rousseau, Jerry Hughes, Ed Oliver, they should be able to dominate the trenches, frustrate the quarterback situation, not allow rushing lanes. I think they're going to control the day. Maybe the Panthers get one or two scoring drives. I just don't see a successful day for Carolina. I do think the Bills handle their business to finally get themselves a win after these past couple of weeks, and they win like a 31-17 win tomorrow. Next game, I'm probably not going to go too in depth with this, guys, because this really doesn't have much implications. But we got the Houston Texans traveling out to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. With the Texans, let's talk about the injury report really quick. Texans side, Justin Reed is out with a concussion and illness. These three players are questionable. Rex Burkhead with his hip and quad, Brevin Jordan with a hip, and then Kevin Pierre-Louis with a hamstring and wrist injury. And then on the Jaguar side, Carlos Hyde is out with his concussion. So yeah, obviously I don't have to go into detail. Everybody knows, what Urban Meyer did and that he got fired, right? And what's funny is the Jaguars were 2.5 or 3.5 point favorites. And after he got fired, it jumped up to 5.5 point favorites. So yeah, and I've learned my lesson, guys. Like, I always, for some reason, talk myself into like the interim head coach bump is not going to happen, and I always pick against that, and I always am dumb and I get proved wrong. So I'm not going to go ahead and go against that. So I think the Jaguars, I'm just going to, like I said, this is going to be a quick preview. I'm not going into too much depth. I think the Jaguars are going to get that post-Urban Meyer bump and get the win. I can see Trevor Lawrence is coming out, balling out. They're going to hand the ball off to James Robinson a bunch. And I think that I can see the offensive moving the ball. And then you got I think the Jaguars defense, which Urban had no control over, right? They shut down the Bills, earlier in the season. So I think the defense is going to come out. They're going against one of the rougher offensive lines in the league. So I can see Josh Allen having a huge day for that defense, getting multiple sacks, helping maybe create turnovers. And I think the Jaguars are going to get themselves a win after the Urban Meyer. You're going to see a lot of smiling. You're going to see a lot of fun. That's what I don't think these guys have had in Jacksonville this year. I don't think they've been having fun. So I think you're going to see a Jaguars team having fun, and then you're just going to have the Texans who know this whole team is just who knows what's going to go on in Houston. That's a weird situation with the whole Deshaun stuff. Everybody kind of figured their coach is a one and done coach. Is he going to be a truly one and done coach? We will find out in the coming months. So yeah, I just don't see anything being motivating for the Texans at this point of the year. I think their players are looking forward to their vacation in January. And then even though the Jaguars probably have guys looking forward to their vacation, I just think, our head coach that we hated just got fired. Let's go have some fun and win a game. So yeah, I think Jacksonville ends up winning like a 24-14 win. Maybe even more than that. Maybe like a 31-14 win. I can see them having a dominating win and having some fun tomorrow. All right. Moving into this next game, we got the Dallas Cowboys traveling up to New York to face the Giants. Let's take a look at the Cowboys injury report. Tyron Smith is out with his ankle injury, and then Tony Pollard is questionable with his foot injury. And then looking at the Giants side, these two players are out. Adoree Jackson with a quad, and Daniel Jones with his neck injury. And then then Ben Bredeson is doubtful with an ankle. And then these three players are questionable: Austin Johnson with a foot, Leonard Williams with a triceps, and then Sterling Shepard with his calf injury. So taking a look at this matchup, no Daniel Jones, right? So it's the Mike Glennon show. I'm not sure if they're still going to be doing that weird stuff where they're talking about rotating in Jake Fromm for some snaps. So with that being said, I really don't have much hope for this Giants offense. I do think they're going to struggle to move the ball against the Cowboys defense. I think the addition of getting Randy Gregory back and DeMarcus Lawrence to go with Micah Parsons has made that Cowboys defensive front so good right now that they're going to be disrupting the pocket throughout the day, and that's going to allow sacks and potential turnovers happen. I mean, maybe the Giants get a couple scoring drives, but I just don't think a couple scoring drives is going to be enough to beat Dallas tomorrow. Because if you flip sides of the ball, yeah, the Cowboys are going to be missing Tyron Smith. That you typically is a detriment for their offensive line. But they are going against this Giants defense where Leonard Williams is banged up. He's questionable. They really don't have. I mean, Azeez Ojulari has showed some good things, but he's still a rookie and he has not shown consistency off the edge. So you do wonder if they're going to be able to get some consistent pressure on Dak. And if they're unable to get some consistent pressure on Dak, that's where I think he kind of picks him apart with his trio of wide receivers. I'm sure you'll see Ezekiel Elliott get a healthy dose. We'll have to see if Tony Pollard's good to go or not tomorrow. But I still think they could put up 3 to 4 touchdown drives against this Giants defense. I think Dallas really does handle their business against New York tomorrow. I think they end up winning like a 31-21 type of win. All right, moving into this next matchup, we got the Arizona Cardinals traveling up to Detroit to face the Lions. Taking a look at the Arizona report, these two players are out. Robert Alford with a pectoral and DeAndre Hopkins with a knee injury. And then these number of players are questionable for Arizona. James Conner with an ankle, Like Futo with a shoulder, Zach Kerr with the ribs, Corey Peters with a knee, Jordan Phillips with a thumb, Justin Pugh with a calf, and Zach Ertz with his hamstring. On Detroit's side, these two players are out. Julian Akawara with an ankle, and DeAndre Swift with a shoulder. And then these players are questionable. Alex Anzalone with an ankle, Michael Brockers with a knee, Will Holden, non-injury related, did not get the reasons why. Jonah Jackson with a back, Jalen Reeves with a maven, and Josh Reynolds with a thigh injury. This will probably there's a lot of easy pickings I think this week when I was getting prepared for the show this morning and trying to figure out who I think would win these games, and obviously you guys know where I'm gonna go with this one. Yeah, so Detroit, they got their big win a couple weeks ago. Then they were dealing with a lot of COVID/flu issues last week, and then they're just entering this week, kind of getting some guys back, but they still have a number of guys on their injury report. So, with the Detroit offense, they don't have DeAndre Swift. I don't believe Jamal Williams has been activated off the COVID list yet. So I still think they're down to their third string running back. So they're down to like third string running backs. Amon-Ra St. Brown's been a nice addition for their wide receiver position, but then they just lost TJ Hawkinson for the year. Josh Reynolds, who's been a nice addition for their offense, he's questionable for this matchup. So, I mean, yeah, you guys know where I'm going with this. We're going to see probably a bad Jared Goff game. I could see the Arizona offense picking them off. I could see Chandler Jones getting a bunch of sacks and maybe a strip sack fumble. And I really don't see much success for the Detroit offense tomorrow. And you flip sides of the ball, the Arizona offense kind of had a somewhat of I want to say a terrible rough outing, but kind of up and down performance against the Rams defense on Monday night. This is definitely a get right type of matchup against the Lions defense. Depending on whoever the running back is, I think they're going to be able to get the ball going on the ground between Kyler's rushing ability, James Conner, and then I think we'll see Chase Edmonds back this week. So they'll be able to run against the ball. And then even though they're missing DeAndre Hopkins, they got AJ Green, who's been putting on some good games this year. So he'll get his. Christian Kirk will get his. What we'll probably see too is a lot of Rondale Moore as well. I kind of feel like this could be a Rondale Moore blow up spot in that dome on that turf. So I think the Cardinals blow it up. They handle their business up in Detroit and win like a 35-14 win tomorrow. And then this will be the last 1 p.m. game I'm speaking about. We got the New York Jets traveling down to Miami to face the Dolphins. Taking a look at the injury report on New York's side, George Fant is doubtful with his knee injury. These 3 players are questionable. We got Sheldon Rankins with a knee, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif with an ankle, and Dan Feeney with his back injury. And then these 3 players are questionable. Adam Shaheen with a knee, Clayton Fijedelum with an ankle, I hope I pronounced that right, and then Austin Jackson with an illness. So, so the Dolphins are coming off their bye week. They won 5 straight games, something like that, to climb to the 6-7 record. They have a potential to make the playoffs, so obviously they have something to fight for. And then you got the Jets, who, again, New York's just having a rough year. They're probably going to have guys looking towards a vacation. They have a lot of youth on that roster, and a lot of injuries too have happened to New York's roster. I don't think they've had a fair shot because I think people are discrediting them a little too much because you guys got to think they were getting hurt players back in like August. They lost one of their big key signings and all that type of stuff. So that being said, Zach Wilson still is having his struggles. He does need to step it up and have a strong final 4 game stretch to his rookie year so he can build upon that for his sophomore year. So yeah, but with that being said, they really don't have much on offense. They don't have Elijah Molden. They don't have Corey Davis. They are getting Michael Carter back, so they're going to probably have a healthy addition of him. But they're going against this Dolphins defense that is playing with a lot of confidence right now. So I think their defensive front's be able to get after Zach Wilson, frustrate him all day, and then you got the ball hawks in the secondary with Xavier Howard led by him. I think Javon Holland is on the. There's so many guys on the COVID list, guys. I don't know who's in and out. They just changed the rules, so I don't know. I have a feeling we might be seeing a lot of players come off that list today if those rules are implemented right now. So yeah, but either way, their defense is playing at a high level. So I don't really see the New York Jets being successful on offense tomorrow. You flip sides of the ball though, the Dolphins offense. They should be able to move the ball against that Jets defense, who has been one of the worst defenses in the league. Now, they did get Myles Gaskin back off the COVID list, so I did see that report. So, they'll probably try to get him going somewhat, but then they're going to try to get the passing game going with Tua and now just Devontae Parker. Maybe they'll get Jalen Waddle back. I hope. Fingers crossed he's asymptomatic and he can play tomorrow because I do have him in one of my main fantasy leagues that is sitting on my bench that I was counting on this week. So hope he's good. Hope he's testing negative and he can play tomorrow. We'll have to see that type of stuff will be coming out throughout today and into tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. But either way, without Jalen Waddle, I still think they're going to be able to move the ball. I think Tua's playing really efficient football right now, and I think they're going to be able to put up like 2 to 3 scoring drives. I think Miami handles their business. They win like a 24-10 win tomorrow. And then moving into these 4 p.m. games, the first game I'm going to talk about, we got the Cincinnati Bengals traveling out to Denver to face the Broncos. These 3 players are out for Cincy. Chidobe Awuzie with a foot, Riley Reif with an ankle, and Logan Wilson with a shoulder. And then these 4 players are questionable. Trey Hill with an illness, Isaiah Prince with an illness, Marcus Bailey with a neck, and Vernon Hargraves with an illness. And then on the Broncos side, these 2 players are doubtful. Draymond Jones with a foot, Kenny Young with a concussion. And then these number of players are questionable. Nate Harrison with a neck, Javonte Williams with a knee, Melvin Gordon with a thumb and hip, Shelby Harris with an ankle, Kareem Jackson with a back, Bobby Massey with a hip, and Caden Stearns with a shoulder and neck injury. So yeah, like how I view this game, we got the Cincinnati Bengals who are coming off back-to-back losses. They need to get a big win so they can keep their playoff hopes alive. They have an opportunity still to go win the division. So I think their offense is gonna come out and they need to start like slinging the ball. Like, listen, like I get that Zach Taylor, has a running philosophy. Joe Mixon is one of the best backs in the league, but like you don't have the offensive line right now that is dominating that type of way, especially now that Riley Reif is going to be out. And I know you're probably trying to protect Joe Burrow, but there's just sometimes you got to let that kid sling it. Last week, we saw that, right? Joe Burrow was one of the hottest quarterbacks in the second half of the games last week, and they got to the overtime and they ran it 2 straight times. Like, what are you doing? Like, let Joe go win you the game. He's slinging it right now. So hopefully they'll do that, find a nice little balance. I think they will try to get that back on track. I think Joe Mixon still has a solid day, though. Don't completely abandon it. With Draymond Jones being out for Denver, that actually kind of opens up the middle of that defensive front where you can kind of try to do some inside run type of stuff against them. So don't abandon it, but just don't lean onto the run too much. And then let Joe Burrow use his 3 weapons. And T. Higgins, who's having a really great year. Jamar Chase kind of got back on track last week. And Tyler Boyd is just a solid wide receiver. So I'm sure they should try to utilize their weapons. And I think they're going to be able to put up, 2 to 3 touchdown drives against the Denver defense. And then you flip sides of the ball, the Denver, they're just like team that you really don't know how to figure out. Like, one week they're looking great, they're running the ball with their double-headed backfield between Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, and then the next week they can't do anything. Right, so with that being said, they're going against the Bengals defense, who is also an up and down defense. So one drive they're really stout against the run, they're not letting anything happen, and then the next drive they're letting a quarterback throw all over them. Well, I just don't think Teddy Bridgewater is a quarterback you have to worry about like going deep on you and just like picking you apart. He is more of the game manager, so I think the Bengals defense is more suited to defend his type of play. And I think they are going to be able to keep that offense somewhat in check. But I do think there will be drives, though, because when the Broncos offense get Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams going, they're pretty hard to stop because those guys can pick up like 5 yards a clip, right? And they're just picking up first downs, and they're putting Teddy in third and short situations, and Teddy can win third and short situations. So they just have to the Bengals defense has to defend that run as good as possible the first 2 downs and put them in like 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 situations, and that's how they can get off the field against Teddy. I do think the Broncos, though, do have a couple 2 or 3 scoring drives. At this point, I think these teams are somewhat even. I think each team has better strengths than the opposing team, and each team has their own weaknesses where the other team has strengths. So they're kind of somewhat balanced to me, and you guys know where I go. If they're somewhat balanced to me, I look at the quarterback situation. I'm going to take Joe Burrow over Teddy Bridgewater. So, yeah, I am going to pick the Bengals to squeeze out a win. I say Joe Burrow gets them in a field goal range. They kick a field goal to win the game. They win a 27-24 win tomorrow. Moving on to this next game, we got the Atlanta Falcons traveling out to San Francisco to face the 49ers. Taking a look at the injury report for Atlanta, Eric Harris is out with a chest injury, and then Dante Fowler is questionable with his calf. On the 49ers side, these 3 players are out. Dre Greenlaw with a groin, Maurice Hurst with a foot, Elijah Mitchell with a concussion and knee, and then these 3 players are questionable. DJ Jones with a knee, Jaquiski Tartt with a glue, and Ambry Thomas with a concussion. So yeah, this is a huge game. I mean, both teams are still fighting for their playoff spots. Obviously, San Francisco has a little bit more of a control because they are right now in the wild card picture. Falcons are one win away from being 7-7, and if they win this game, both teams are 7-7. So that should give Atlanta the tiebreaker where they would actually be in the playoff picture. I mean, I did pick Atlanta to finish second in the AFC South, but I definitely did not see a potential playoff spot on the line for them. So yeah, this is pretty interesting because the Falcons are weird, right? Because they're not overly impressive on their roster, right? Their defense, AJ Terrell's playing like an all-pro. They still got Grady Jarrett, they got Deion Jones, Foyesade Oluokun. They got some nice pieces, but then they got holes kind of scattered throughout that defense. So, with that being said, I think the San Francisco offense should be able to move the ball, though, against the Falcons defense. Now, they're out with Elijah Mitchell, but they got Jeff Wilson and JaMychal Hasty that they can move the ball on the ground with. George Kittle is really on fire right now, and I don't really see anybody on that defense that can stop him. They'll use Deebo Samuel, they'll use Brandon Ayuk, and I think they'll use Kyle Shanahan's brain and offensive scheme, and they're going to be able to move the ball, put up 3 to 4 touchdown drives against this Atlanta defense. And then you flip sides of the ball, Atlanta, they just been leaning on Cordero Patterson, and Cordero Patterson. That's basically been their offense. Calvin Ridley is still out of the picture right now. Russell Gage has been a nice fill-in guy for Ridley since he's been out. But with that being said, and then Kyle Pitts, he has his games here and there. He's still getting acclimated to the next level. Now they're going against this 49ers defense, which has been playing a lot better over the last month. And then you got Nick Bosa, who deserves more talk about. I feel like the Bosa brothers, everybody knows they're amazing edge rushers, but I still feel like they don't get as much recognition as they should. And Nick Bosa is playing out of his mind over the last month. And I am on the boat where, Dak has kind of fallen off, and I'm kind of leaning towards maybe Nick Bosa should be the comeback player of the year. And I think he's going to dominate this matchup. The Falcons don't have one of the they have one of the worst offensive lines. And I think Nick Bosa is going to come off the edge, and the rest of the defensive front is going to be able to benefit off of his dominance. And they're just going to frustrate Matt Ryan all day and hit him all day. And those are the type of games that Atlanta has lost this year, is when Matt Ryan is under early duress and under early pressure. So, I can still see the Falcons putting up like 2 to 3 scoring drives, but I think Kyle Shanahan just gets that extra touchdown drive to give them the win. I think San Francisco ends up winning like a 28-21 win over Atlanta tomorrow. Moving on to this next game, we do got the Green Bay, and this is the last 4 p.m. game. We do got the Green Bay Packers traveling to Baltimore to face the Ravens. Starting with Green Bay's report, these 3 players have been ruled out. David Bakhtiari with a knee, Dominic Daphne with an ankle, and Billy Turner with a knee. Economia St. Brown's doubtful with a concussion. These 2 players are questionable. Malik Taylor with an abdomen, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling with his back injury. And then looking at the Ravens injury report, Ben Powers is out with a foot. Calais Campbell is doubtful with a thigh, and then these number of players are questionable. Nick Boyle with a knee, Lamar Jackson with his ankle, and it does not sound like Lamar's going to play tomorrow, but stay tuned. Maybe he gets healthy by then. Patrick McCarry with a hand, Tyree Phillips with an illness, Patrick Ricard with a back and knee, Alejandro Villanueva with a knee, and Chris Westry with a knee. Normally I wouldn't, this is a type of game that would not be one I would go, be pretty quick on, but I'm pretty confident in how this game's going to turn out with no Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore defense just being ravaged by injuries. So yeah, Baltimore's defense is ravaged by injuries. They're missing their best cornerback. Calais Campbell is not going to be playing. Well, he's doubtful. Well, maybe he gets upgraded to questionable. We'll see, but it does not look like he's going to play. So with that being said, this Baltimore defense has allowed quarterbacks to pick them apart all throughout the season, and they're going against the reigning MVP Aaron Rodgers. So you guys know where I'm going to think about this. He's going to pick them apart with Devontae Adams. Alan Lazard is going to get his. Probably MVS, if he plays, will get his. And then they'll utilize their backs between Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon on the ground. They'll be able to pick up little chunk plays here and there with their running backs, and they're going to put up 4 touchdown drives. Pretty confident they're going to score 4 touchdown drives tomorrow. And then you got the Baltimore offense, where they're not going to more than likely have Lamar Jackson. Even if they have Lamar Jackson, he's dealing with an ankle injury that he did not practice all week. So even if he plays, he's more than likely like an 80% Lamar Jackson, which is a pretty good player, better than most quarterbacks in this league. But his strength is his mobility and his quickness and his speed in the open field. And if he doesn't have that element to his game, that's just going to even hamper the offense some more. So I just see the Ravens offense struggling tomorrow. I do think their backup has played pretty well in moments, but he's just not going to battle. He's not going to go toe to toe in a shootout with Aaron Rodgers. I just don't see it happening. I really do. I think the Packers are going to handle their business and win like a 31-14 win over Baltimore. I think they're going to beat their butts, guys. I really do. All right, moving on to the Sunday night game. We got the Saints traveling down here to Tampa to face the Buccaneers. And the Saints, man, this is probably be another quick one with how I think this game's going to turn out. So Sean Payton has tested positive for COVID, so they're going to be missing their head coach. And then these players are out. They're going to be missing their 2 starting tackles. Ryan Ramczyk with a knee and Teron Armstead with a knee. Not great to have your head coach and your 2 bookend tackles, who are some of the best tackles in the league, missing in this matchup. And then also Garrett Griffin's out with a hamstring, and Caden Ellis is out with a hamstring, and then Lil Jordan Humphrey is questionable with his hamstring. Now on the Bucs side, Jamel Dean is out with an illness. Richard Sherman is doubtful with his Achilles, and then these 3 players are questionable. Leonard Fournette with an ankle, Jordan Whitehead with a calf, and Antoine Winfield Jr. with his foot injury. So yeah, guys, you're missing Sean Payton. That's a detriment. And then look at that. Ryan Ramczyk and Teron Armstead are out. So they're both. I keep on reiterating, but your both tackles are out, going against Shaq Barrett on one side, Jason Pierre-Paul on one side. By the way, they got their first round pick, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, that will come in too. So Taysom Hill is going to be under duress all throughout the night. Anytime they try to drop him back to pass, which he's dealing with a mallet finger, and then already is not a really great thrower of the football. So I see the Saints offense struggling all throughout the night. All they really got going right now is Alvin Kamara, and they're probably just going to give him 25 touches and hope he can somehow put the team on his back and win this game. Maybe they get 2 scoring drives. I don't see it happening. I think it's going to be a rough outing for the Saints offense tomorrow night. And then you flip sides of the ball. Now that Saints defense, they're really tough. But I think their offense is going to put them in a bad situation. I think they're going to be going 3 and out a lot. So I think that Saints defense is going to be on the field a lot. And at some point, I think that's going to wear them down. And I think Tom Brady is just going to pick them apart through the air. They are very stout against the run. Leonard Fournette is questionable with his ankle injury. So I think this is going to be a Tom Brady game. And here's the thing. I did not realize this. So Tom Brady beat the Saints in the playoffs last year, right? But he is 0-3 as a Buccaneer against the Saints in the regular season. And then people kind of forget they didn't win the division last year. The Saints did. So if they win tomorrow, they win their division. That locks up a home playoff game. And that will give them their first NFC title since, I think, 2007, if I'm remembering that right. So yeah, this team is going to be highly motivated going against a team that doesn't have their head coach, doesn't have their top 2 tackles. Basically technically down to their backup quarterback because Jameis had the job to start the season. So yeah, I think Tampa Bay is going to come out with a purpose tomorrow. I think their defense is going to be dominant. I think their offense is going to do enough to move the ball and put up touchdowns. They're going to win like a 31-10, 31-14 win. This is another dominating win, I think, because of the whole, Sean Payton being out and them being out their top 2 tackles. Moving on to the Monday games. Again, guys, so the Raiders are going to play the Browns. That game is going to start at 5 p.m. Eastern. So as I'm leaving work Monday night, I'm going to have to watch that on my phone, put it up in a little safe spot so I can drive safe and watch that on my way home. And I'm probably going to still do my typical Monday workout and watch that on my phone while I'm working out. So but with that being said, guys, there has been no news if any Browns players have came off the COVID list since I recorded my preview video for this game on Thursday night. I still think the Browns are going to win this game. If you want to know how I feel about this more in detail, again, please go back to the previous video when I preview this game along with tonight's Colts and Patriots game to get my feelings on it. But again, I am picking the Browns to win this matchup. And I guess I could have mentioned earlier, I did pick the Colts to win tonight's matchup. So again, go back and watch the previous video for that reference. So other than that, I am going to move on to the original Monday night game. We got the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Chicago to face the Bears. Now, again, these are practice reports. The final injury report will come out today. So with that being said, Adam Thielen did not practice for the Vikings yesterday with his ankle injury. And then these 2 players were limited. Eric Kendricks with a low back injury, and then Christian Darrisaw with an ankle injury. And then with the Bears side, these number of players did not practice yesterday. Xavier Crawford with a concussion, Marquise Goodwin with a foot, DeAndre Houston Carson with a forearm, Jason Peters with an ankle, and Kairis Tonga with a shoulder and illness. And then these 2 players were limited. Jimmy Graham with a knee, and Roquan Smith with a hamstring. Now, also, too, another thing is the Bears do have 5 or 6 players, including Eddie Jackson and I want to say Allen Robinson. They're on the COVID list right now, but maybe they might be able to be playing by Monday. But with that being said, I do think the Vikings are going to handle their business, guys. Who was it? It was Jalen Johnson, the really good cornerback from the Bears. He came out and literally told the media that there are some players in this locker room that are trying to get better and get things right. You know who those players are? Those are going to be the younger players. Those are going to be the rookie guys that are going to be here next year. And then he said some other guys are just going into tank mode. So you got a split locker room where you got the young guys that are either fighting for their next contract, fighting for their spot, fighting to get better for next year. And then you probably got a group of older guys that maybe they're only on a 1-year deal. They know the organization is going to hit the reset button, fire the head coach, probably fire the GM, and it's going to be a completely new regime and everything's going to be up in the air for next year. And they're just looking for their vacation time. Know what that's going to happen? That's going to translate that on the field. So there's going to be miscommunication. There's going to be guys maybe not trying as hard, and it's just going to be not that great of a football from the Chicago Bears, right? So, and then you got the Vikings who come off that big win against the Steelers, sitting at 6-7. They still have a shot to make the playoffs, right? So they have something to fight for. I think their offense is going to come out, get Dalvin Cook going early, and then they're going to lead. Then that's going to allow Kirk Cousins to pick the Bears' defense apart through the air, which their coverage has been struggling throughout the year in Chicago. So I can see Justin Jefferson having a good game. If Adam Thielen can't go, that means KJ Osborne will get his. Even Tyler Conklin will get his, and they'll be able to put up like 3 to 4 touchdown drives on Monday night. Now, your flip sides of the ball, Justin Fields, he had an up and down game against the Packers, but he did show some good promising things. And I could see him having some good success against this Vikings defense, which has not been that great this year. So I could see him and Darnell Mooney connecting often throughout the night. And then I think they will be able to kind of somewhat get the running game going, get a little RPO, little read option plays with David Montgomery and Justin Fields' legs. And I do still think the Bears offense can put together, 2 to 3 scoring drives, because I think I think those are the type of players I think they're going to be fighting, for their next. Like David Montgomery's he's still trying to earn his first big contract. Justin Fields needs to get better for his second year. So that's the type of players I think, and same thing with Darnell Mooney. Those are the type of players I think will be doing their best on the field, and they should get 2 to 3 scoring drives in the game. The Vikings, like should be a game that they handle their business and beat the Chicago's butt, to be quite honest, but they just can't do it. Look what they gave up that big lead against the Steelers, right? So maybe Chicago keeps it interesting, but I still think the Vikings win like a 28-21 win on Monday night. Now we are going to go ahead and get into these Tuesday games. Now, I kind of hate how the NFL did it, but I guess we can't complain because the games are still getting played. But both these games are at 7 p.m. Eastern. So you're gonna have to, if you're going to want to watch both of them, you're going to have to get a dual screen thing going on. So again, I'm going to start with this first game I got listed. The Washington football team is traveling out to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. Taking a quick look at the football team's report, because first of all, the Washington football team, they have like 20 or so players on the COVID list. These players, as far as their practice report as of yesterday, now I don't know when the final injury report will come out. I don't know if that's coming out today because they have the previous 2 days listed. They are actually supposed to do their final report yesterday, but obviously the game got shifted. It might come out tomorrow, but as of right now, as of yesterday, J.D. McKissick did not practice with a concussion. Curtis Samuel did not practice with a hamstring. Terry McLaurin was limited with a concussion, and now with the extra time, I know for fantasy football managers like myself, this is kind of promising, is that it does sound like Terry McLaurin will be able to come off the concussion protocol and play on Tuesday. And then again, they have a number of guys on the COVID list, including Taylor Heineke. It does not sound like Heineke will play, but right before I hopped on to record this episode, it sounds like Kyle Allen is asymptomatic, is going to be able to test out of the COVID list or whatever, protocol, and I think he's going to be the starting quarterback. If not, it's supposed to be, I think, is it Garrett Gilbert? I'm telling you guys, this is a whole fluid situation. And then you flip sides, Eagles had full practice, everybody. And then Jalen Hurts was kind of somewhat questionable for this game. And I think obviously with the extra couple of days of rest on his ankle, I think that should allow Jalen Hurts to be able to play because he got a full practice in on Friday. I think they were going to list him as questionable. And now that he's got the extra couple of days, he was already trending in the right direction. I think he'll be the quarterback. So with that being said, again, I don't know who's going to come off the COVID list for the football team over the next couple weeks. Or a couple days. But with that being said, I think Philadelphia is kind of feeling themselves right now because they got that big win a couple weeks ago with Gardner Minshew. They are coming off their bye week. They're very healthy right now. They're going to be going against a football team's defense where there's guys on the COVID list, including I think a lot of them are up at the defensive front. So that's going to allow the Eagles to try to establish a run with Jalen Hurts' rushing ability, Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, I believe, is back, and they're going to be able to get the running game going, and that's going to allow the play action to take effect, and that's going to allow Devontae Smith, Dallas Cordero to get theirs, and I think they should be able to put together like about 3 touchdown drives against the football team's defense. Now, you flip sides of the ball, I don't know what we're going to see out of the football team's offense, right? Because we really don't know who's going to be the quarterback right now. But they still got Antonio Gibson. They still got Terry McLaurin. Those are the two of the pillars of that offense. So all they should probably be doing is trying to get the ball in those two playmakers' hands as often as possible and see if they can take over this game. But listen, with all the COVID issues and the quarterback issues and the lack of practice, the lack of chemistry between all these players, it's going to be like a hit and miss offense. Maybe they get a couple of scoring drives together throughout the game, but I'm wondering if that's going to be enough. I'm wondering if the Eagles are going to have a good enough lead at that point of the game. So I am going to pick the Eagles to win this matchup. I honestly was, without the COVID issues, I kind of felt like Philadelphia was going to win this matchup regardless. They are the home team. I'm going to take Philadelphia to win let's say they win like a 24-17 win on Tuesday. It's weird saying Tuesday football, even though it did happen last year. All right, then the other Tuesday game, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern start time. We got the Seahawks playing the Rams. Now, the Seahawks, these two players did not practice yesterday. Brandon Shell with a shoulder and Brian Mond with a knee. And then with the Rams, they had two players that did not that were limited in practice. Brian Allen with a knee and Aaron Donald with a knee. But they are also one of the teams with like 20 or so guys on the COVID list, but then OBJ is on the COVID list, but he tweeted out yesterday that he's tested negative, so he should be able to be back. So again, just like the football team, there'll probably be a number of Rams players that will be back for this game. They're coming off that big win against the Cardinals. Sean McVay, in the history of going against Pete Carroll, has actually owned him. So with that being said, you got the Seahawks who are technically still fighting for a playoff spot there, but they still got a jumble of mess still going on. So, and then I think Matthew Stafford is going to come off that Cardinals game playing with a lot of confidence. Even without, they should be getting OBJ. So him, OBJ, Van Jefferson, Cooper Kupp are going to pick up with Matthew Stafford, are going to pick apart the Seahawks secondary, which has had their own struggles this year. And I think they're going to be able to put up 3 to 4 scoring drives. They'll be able to run the ball with Sony Michel. We'll have to see if Darrell Henderson is one of the players that can come off the COVID list. But yeah, I still think that offense is going to be able to move the ball pretty easily. Now, as far as flipping sides of the ball, though, the Seattle offense, we'll have to see what they can do. I mean, they got Rashad Penny going last week, but Tyler Lockett is on the COVID list for them, as well as Alex Collins. So they're probably going to try to get Rashad Penny going. They're going to have to try to force feed DK Metcalf if Lockett cannot come off the list by Tuesday. And they're just going to have to try to play catch-up mode, in my opinion. And now Russell Wilson definitely can do that, but I'm wondering if they're going to have enough offensive firepower when they're missing Lockett, because Lockett is really kind of what makes this thing tick, because his chemistry with Russell Wilson and their ability to like create something out of nothing on plays can keep drives alive. And I don't think they'll have enough to do that and keep up with LA. Even with all the COVID issues, I still think the Rams would find, even if they were playing this game tomorrow, I still think the Rams would have found a way to win. So I'm going to pick the Rams to win like a 28-24 win against Seattle. So yeah, that is my video, guys. Hopefully I get these games right with all these COVID issues. I'm hoping I didn't miss any names or thought some guys were on it. Maybe they weren't, but we'll all get through this. So yeah, that's my video. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button so you can keep up with all my latest content. And again, as a reminder, guys, if you want to know my feelings on the Saturday game or on tonight's game, go back and watch this previous video on my channel. And then my content creation schedule over this next week, how this is going to work because of all the games getting pushed around with COVID. Wednesday, that's when Wednesday night when I get home from work, that is when I'm going to be doing my top waiver wire claims and streamable defenses for the next week of the playoffs in fantasy football. Thursday, probably morning, maybe around noon, you should be seeing my top starts and sits in fantasy football for next week's the second week of the fantasy football playoffs. And then what I'll do is on Friday morning, Christmas Eve morning, I will wake up and get my week preview recorded, and if anybody's got the time to watch that, I will appreciate it. But again, it's the holiday, so I don't really expect much out of that. So yeah, that is my content creation schedule for next week, guys. If anything changes, I'll try to post something on Twitter. But again, subscribe to my channel so you know when anything gets uploaded to my channel. You can go ahead and watch it. So that's at least my plan for the next week or so. If anything gets changed with COVID or not, maybe I adjust my schedule even more. So if you guys have any football related questions, fantasy football related questions, you guys know what to do. Hit the comment section on my videos. You can @ me at Twitter at Cody Talks NFL. You can slide into the DM on Twitter. I do not check any other social media platform messengers, so Twitter is the only way to get a hold of me on social media, or the comment section of my videos here. But if you happen to have my number, you always know you can try to call me. But my phone, my friends are learning. I have my phone on silent. I don't know why, guys. I just do it. But I will eventually get back to you. But you can always shoot me a text, right? I'm gonna get out of here, get this uploaded for you guys. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you guys on Wednesday night.